I want to ask you a question. And I want you to resist the impulse to answer it quickly. Because quick answers to this question are almost always wrong. Who are you when no one is watching? Not who you say you are. Not the version you project on social media or present at work or perform for the people whose opinion you care about. I mean the man who exists in the quiet. The man who is there when the phone is down and the room is empty and there is no audience to perform for. Who is that man? Because for most men, when they sit with that question honestly, there is a gap. A discomfort. A recognition that the man they perform publicly and the man who exists privately are not quite the same person. That gap is the most important thing you need to understand about yourself. Identity is not what you declare. It is what you do consistently when the pressure is off. Any man can hold discipline for a week when he is motivated. Any man can be patient, composed, and purposeful when others are watching. The test of identity is what survives when the audience disappears. Think about the world's most dominant athletes, the ones who show up on camera for 2 hours a week but train for 20. The cameras catch a fraction of who they are. The other 90% happens in empty gyms, before sunrise, with no one keeping score but them. That is where their identity was actually built. Not in the highlight reel. Do you eat well when no one will know? Do you keep your word to yourself when there is no external accountability? Do you hold your standards when breaking them carries no visible cost? Or do you become a slightly softer version of yourself the moment the spotlight goes off? This is not a judgment. It is an observation. And for most men, if they are being completely honest, the private self and the public self are running on two different operating systems. Here is where the problem originates. Most men have never built an identity from the inside out. They have assembled one from the outside in. You watched certain men and borrowed their posture. You absorbed a version of masculinity from what the culture around you rewarded. You shaped yourself to the expectations of the environments you moved through, family, school, relationships, social dynamics, and somewhere in all of that shaping, the original signal got buried under layers of adaptation. The result is an identity that is partly real and partly performance. And the dangerous thing about performed identity is that it works. It functions. People respond to it. The world treats you like the person you are performing. It is worth remembering that some of the most recognized founders and builders in the world were, for years, unknown. No audience. No platform. No one validating the decision. The companies that now reach billions of people were built in rooms with no cameras, by men who had not yet been given permission by anyone to believe in themselves. The recognition came after the identity was already settled, not before. So you keep performing. You get good at it. And eventually the performance becomes so familiar that you stop noticing the gap between the performer and the man underneath. Until a quiet moment arrives. A moment alone. A question no one else is asking. And the gap becomes visible again. The work of identity reclamation is not about tearing down who you are and starting over. It is about honest inventory. About going through the architecture of your self-concept and asking, which of this is mine? And which of this did I inherit from someone else's expectations? There are values you hold because they are genuinely yours, forged through experience, refined through reflection, tested under pressure. Those stay. And then there are the borrowed parts. The beliefs about what kind of man you should be that came from outside, not inside. The standards you hold yourself to because someone else decided they mattered. The image you maintain because you have never stopped to ask whether it actually reflects you. Special forces selection programs around the world are built on this exact principle. They are not designed to find the strongest men. They are designed to strip away performance until only identity remains, because under enough pressure, with no audience left to perform for, a man cannot fake who he is. What's left when the performance breaks is the truth. Real identity is not found in what you project. It is found in what you return to when projection is no longer possible. That quiet room. That empty house. That moment between who you say you are and what you actually do. That is where your true identity lives. And that is where the work begins. Here is the practice I want to offer you. Not a mindset exercise. A behavioral test. For the next 7 days, each evening, ask yourself this single question: did my private behavior today match the identity I claim publicly? Did you make the decision in private that you would have made if someone you respect was watching? Did you hold the standard when no one would have known if you broke it? Did you show up as the man you say you are, or as a slightly discounted version of him? You are not scoring yourself. You are observing. Because the gap between private behavior and public identity, when you can see it clearly, becomes impossible to ignore. And what a man cannot ignore, he eventually must address. Identity is not a declaration. It is an accumulation. Every private decision you make is either building the man you want to become, or quietly undermining him. The audience does not determine who you are. Your private life does. The choices no one sees. The standards you hold when holding them costs you something. The person you choose to be in the quiet. So let me ask you again. Properly this time. Not as a challenge. As an invitation. Who are you when no one is watching? And more importantly, is that man someone you are proud to be?